Hello, storytellers, storytelling Ron. So this is going to be about Damsel, and my take on it as a for the lore RPG guy who says women cannot wield battle axes in the games. We should not be using women to act like men. They're just erasing women. And I'm going to keep preaching that women should be playing a feminine role or a female role. I don't know. Anyway, so here's Netflix's Damsel is the feminist epitome of an alliance between Eve and the serpent. Let's unpack it by Joel Abbott. Okay, so I read all this and then I watched the movie, knowing what he was saying, and watched the movie, and I still enjoyed the movie. Actually, I gotta say, but I do appreciate what he's talking about here. I gotta blow my nose, then I'll be right back. Okay. All right. So he says here that there's gonna be spoilers, and even when I watched this, and knew everything that he said here in the spoilers, I still enjoyed the movie. Like, it didn't bother me. Okay, but I still have my critiques of it and warnings. So let's go through. So this is, I'm going to talk about Dragonslayer and St. George of the Dragon as well. So Elodie is, she lives in a harsh land, and they show her chopping wood kind of weekly, but doing it. So, I do feel like this film, the writer gave a good premise for everything. He inserted, quickly, which is the way you got to do a movie, things that give you, that cover why she can do this or that. So I think that was a good job, sort of covering the bases in this film. So it shows her chopping wood at the beginning, like a harsh life. So ergo, she would be able to be a little tougher and survive and swing a sword or whatever. And I will say right off the bat that in this film, I do like, she doesn't really swing the sword like a warrior in this film. The way they depict her as a warrior, or the way they depict how she defeats the dragon. She defeats it using her wits as a woman, because she knows she cannot go up against the dragon. And then also shows the men, some knights, who are going to fight the dragon. And actually, and that to me, the fighting in that was pretty weak and dismal. Like, they really didn't fight. Most of them just kind of ran or immediately got swooped up or whatever. So that was a little disappointing. But I did notice, though, it was all men. There was no women knights. They weren't doing that. So to me, this film kind of is not necessarily woke or anything. It really shows that the men are men and women are women, and women have power in this film. As like the evil queen mother here, she has power. She obviously has power over the men in her, the cult sort of witch thing that she kind of, sacrificing the princess to the dragon, type of thing. And the prince here, he's guilt ridden doing this, but he kind of has to do it. Kind of a thing. They have to sacrifice to the dragon, or otherwise the dragon's going to fight. They made a deal with the dragon many centuries ago. Made a deal with the devil, kind of thing. Here's another thing. There's no Christianity in this film, right? So why not sacrifice, right? So for us, say Christians, to say want to judge this, judge it from the perspective of they don't have Christ, and so of course they're going to do this. That's why you talk to your kids. There's what this kingdom is doing is there's nothing morally wrong with that as a pagan, right? They can sacrifice, to be safe, to be secure. It's exactly how paganism is. They want to sacrifice humans to have security. See, we Christians will not sacrifice humans for security. That is wrong, absolutely. And her journey to fight back and vengeance is also paganism. There is no, so that's the story you can have with your kids. There's no Christ here, so obviously she can go ahead and kill everyone in vengeance because they try to sacrifice her to the dragon, and get the dragon to. So, spoiler alert here, that she finally makes an alliance with the dragon to go kill them, and all of that is downplayed very quickly at the end. So it's not like a completely brutal slaying like in Game of Thrones. It's very quickly done, and then kind of turns into a Disney ending, with her pet dragon flying off into the sunset with her and her family. That's interesting too. So the father is the one who knew he was going to sacrifice to help his kingdom, which is, again, what's wrong with that in a pagan world? He was still, but they also showed him being guilt ridden and try to rescue her. So there's kind of that little bit of a redemptive stuff in there. But again, the premise of human sacrifice is totally normal for them. and acceptable. So you need to realize that. You need to understand that in teaching your kids. So if you do have your daughters watch this, tell them what's wrong, talk about that. If they don't have Christ in there, what's wrong with sacrificing, and what's wrong with brutal vengeance? There's no need to forgive. Her defeating of the dragon was good and interesting. It wasn't like she just started swinging a sword or something. She ran away. She hid. It was a desperate move. Like in my game, women have a dagger and they can do a feigning thing. You can feign like your weakness, and that then can expose them to, your dagger. So I do have actually that kind of mechanic in my role-playing game where a woman can do that, especially to men. Although she did it, and she did in this film to the dragon. The dragon's a woman, but whatever. It's a dragon. And there's a sad story of all these sacrifices. She saw the wall where all these names are. That was good because I like that, because I like that this is a depiction of pagans dealing with each other and what they leave behind. A wall of names by the girls who are all sacrificed. And imagine this too. You're sacrificed. That's sort of a very horrifying way to go, right? Like dying is obviously depressing, but this is like triple depressing. You're literally abandoned, imprisoned, and being forced to die. You were being abandoned by your family, or by the family you thought you were going to be part of. That's paganism, man. They get you feeling one way and then they sacrifice you. So this is, to me, like a good story to talk about with your children if you do watch this with your kids, even your adult or young adult kids. And her fighting him again, like I like that she got pain. She had pain. She suffered. Obviously she's doing this, but she did it after she tricked the dragon, not because she was able to fight. Wielding the sword like crazy. I thought and in the end here, the whole town's burning, but again, covered the bases. People had the opportunity to flee, like before she and the dragon destroyed the. So some people actually fled. She gave them that opportunity. And then killed like the main villains of the film, and the supporters of it. So I thought that the writer and the film, they kind of covered their bases in a sense about that. But again, and it was kind of a well done film, but I really did appreciate the narrative flow was very well done, I thought, and having those little things that, details. I do like when someone, I am intrigued when someone is sort of isolated and they have to figure out how to survive, and find, in the story gives them little things to help them along the way, kind of a thing. And that's what this did. So, and then her return, but here she's saying anyone that wants to go may leave now for vengeance is mine or whatever, and then it kills them. And then this is off. So, and what he's saying in here is that the biblically, like the Eve and the dragon, the deal with the dragon is very sort of satanic, and then the attempt at making this look like heaven is going to fool people to think that they hate the patriarchy, well, the patriarchy doesn't sacrifice women. Okay. Democrats sacrifice women. I'll just come out and say it. Democrats sacrifice humans. The patriarchy of conservatism does not sacrifice a woman. When they get married, they have a wonderful life together, and they should get rich together, and the husband and wife together can become their own little empire and take over the patriarchy, the woman included. Okay, that's Christian. So we just need to preach that. We need to preach that the patriarchy is a husband and his wife, and leadership of a husband over his wife is service. The definition of leadership to a Christian is service. The definition of leadership to pagans is power and tyranny, and that's exactly what they do with it. All right, Democrats love power. Republicans and conservatives, we want to limit power so that it's all about service. So when we say we are the leader of our wives, the Christian wives is like, you all don't know the secret of this. And we Christian men are like, yeah, we're the leaders. Just don't let our wives know that. Kind of, we joke around because we know we're the leaders, but we all joke around because we know we're not the leaders. We're the servers. See, we know we Christian men who protect our wife and children are serving them. And it's just like, and we're just so, what is wrong with you pagans? And the Christian wives are like, what is wrong with you pagans? You guys don't know what you're missing out. Last night, I, as a Christian man, leader of this family, heard my dog barking, and I got up and did my rounds. Okay, at 2:30 a.m. My wife slept soundly. She hears nothing at night anymore. I hear everything. I'm half awake all night. She never. That's why we Christian men die so early, because we don't get any sleep. Actually, the women don't get any sleep when they nurse the children. We Christian husbandmen do not get sleep the rest of our life. So this, I think it's a great teachable moment, and it's very entertaining. And I think you can talk to your kids about this. There's no Christianity in this. Now, the stepmother, I liked Angela Bassett's character in here. She was actually a good person and didn't realize they were going to sacrifice him, and didn't know the husband was, good. And they call her stepmother. So I did like that. And I appreciated that because she's black. And so it would be weird to have her be just mom, with white kids. And I appreciate they said stepmother. And at the end, they called her mother because she tried to protect them. And when she did learn, and they stabbed her and took her younger daughter, and, and she was distraught about the whole thing. So that was cool. I actually like that. And I'm like, man, more black people, please. As long as in this fantasy, as long as it's you're not trying to, stepmother, perfect. She was a great character, and they had a black knight guy, and that was fine. And I wish there was more kind of lead roles for blacks in the film too, or whatever race, whatever, which is fine in this kind of silly fantasy. I don't want to see always white people for sure, although I love white people. I love white devils, and you know what I mean by white devils if you watch any of my videos. White devils are actually cool. Are good. I'm gonna start using that more often, by the way. And so, like, this picture, like, why the dragon is never your ally. So when he says that concerning this, the dragon here is depicted like looking very evilly, and it was, but it's sort of like it's a mother and it's a victim, and that's kind of a motif of the Eve and the biblical thing, and even of like pagans and Satanists. They want to have this sort of women empowerment with the serpent. And I get that. That's fine, if that's what they want to do with this film. But at the end, she and the sister and the stepmother, what they call her mother now, they're like going off, and they have men in the ship. They seem very peaceful looking, and going to start their lives or whatever. But you never. He says here, the dragon is never your ally. I mean, that's true too. Like, but this dragon is intelligent. So if it's intelligent, I feel like you could train it, work with it. But the real serpents, the real snakes and reptiles, and dragons, you cannot. They actually don't have, right. You can't tame them. Just in nature, you can't. And so you always have to kill them. And so we as knights and Christians back in the day killed dragons because we can't tame them. We can't. They're not a bull. And wild animals that were mammals could flee into the mountains. That's why we don't have dragons anymore that were left over from the flood. We killed them. We hunted them down because they had to live in the tropical environments. They couldn't flee to the cold mountains like wolves and bears. They couldn't flee to the watery marshes like crocodiles. The upright reptilians could not. We killed them off. The little lizards could survive and snakes because they could hide in the rocks and stuff. But we mammals are very voracious and hungry, including pigs and dogs, and we could easily kill the upright reptiles. Just eat their eggs. They don't have enough time and safety to grow big enough to survive against us. We kill them at 4 a.m. in the morning with fire, when it's coldest, and we kill them all off. That's where the dragons win. The dinosaurs, the T-Rexes and velociraptors or whatever dangerous reptile there was. We just killed them. We ate them, killed them, got rid of them. And they can't, like I said, like mammals, they can't flee into the mountains and the cold regions that we didn't care about. They can't, like smaller reptiles, they can't hide in the rocks and stuff. And, and they can't hibernate either, right? Because they're too big to be burying themselves like smaller reptiles. So we just killed them off in the early, post-flood era. I do want to talk about the Dragonslayer because this is a film that I fell in love with, and I made another video on this. But the same story where you sacrifice the princess to the dragon, and this dragon was just evil. But what upsets me about this film, and I loved this film when I was a kid, this came out in the 80s, and a big D&D kind of film, is that they replaced the true story, the real story, with a wizard, with paganism. And they made the Christians look stupid in this film. And that really annoyed me because even I fell for it. I fell for this fantasy that said Christians were stupid and that it was these pagan a wizard boy and his wizard master who beat the dragon, and not Christians. Like, they sacrificed themselves to save not the princess, but the new princess or whatever. They sacrifice themselves to do it. But the true story, the real history of Dragonslayer, is Saint George and the Dragon. And this story, is a myth. It's a Christian myth. It's a Orthodox Christian myth. It's a Catholic myth. It's a wonderful myth. It's a Crusader myth. But it's a legend about Saint George is a real person, and he actually really did die. He suffered under paganism. He was tortured because he would not sacrifice to a Roman god in 300 AD. Because he would not, he can be a Christian. You can be a Christian, but just be pagan too. See, paganism absolutely will take Christianity and turn it into paganism and pretend and all this stuff. But if you don't comply with their wishes, you're offensive, and they tortured him on a wheel of swords or whatever. He passed out with so much pain, they had to revive him to torture him more. That's paganism. You guys don't get this. Paganism believes in torture, absolutely. And all the torture racks and all the torture things across medieval Europe, those are not Christian or church things. Those are pagan, what do you call it? Like tradition. They held on to those, The kings and dukes held on to these. Or we're going to use these because we're pagan, They still had paganism in them. The church did not torture or do any of that stuff. Now, Hollywood depicts it that way, but they never did. They interrogate. It's called the Inquisition because they inquired. The torture and the execution was never done by the church. It was always passed on to the dukes and kings because they couldn't convert this evil person, this witch or whoever. She's going to keep killing babies, so we can't do much about this anymore. We tried to convert her, but she's not going to change, her evil ways. So so they give them up to the duke or king or whoever, and they torture them. The reason they torture them is to put fear into the people and subdue evil. And the church was like, well, but remember also the church didn't have as much power as everyone thinks. Like the church was in a precarious, weak position towards every local duke or king. And they had to be subservient to them as well and try to have a tenuous relationship, And that's what my game, by the way, is trying to show you all: church history, missionaries, and how it worked and how difficult it was and how you have to compromise and how you have to, pick your battles. And then, of course, pagans will then look back at you, all the choices you made and then blame you for everything. And so I want you to know that you have the realization of that in the stories in Christian history, that you don't have to be ashamed of our failures and our weaknesses. And when we depict things in a weird way, like this story is very important because it actually, I think, because of his sacrifice to fight the dragon and save the princess in this story, because it's a lottery too. They had a lottery where they gave up the daughters because they're pagan. And then he chose to fight against it. So the self-sacrifice thing. Now here, I don't care if they say, oh, we took it from pagans. I don't care. Because the original pagan stories are about being heroes, getting treasure, becoming a legend, fighting the gods. That's all paganism, sure. But for us, it's not about that. It's about sacrifice to save someone. And if this came off of one of them, whatever, I don't care. I don't care if we literally stole it from a pagan. I don't care. Steal from pagans, because what we do is we steal from them and then we turn it all on their head. The prime example I try to get across to Christians is the cross. The cross is a pagan symbol we have stolen from them. And so steal away, Christians, and throw it right back at their faces. So don't be ashamed of stealing the Christmas tree, Christmas, Easter, whatever the heck. I don't care. We turn it into the glory to God. The cross, our symbol of the cross is completely different from their symbol of the cross. Their symbol of the cross is public torture and humiliation, right? In the public, you die naked, dying slowly over 3 days. It's horrifying. And people come along and mock and scoff you. That's paganism. What does our cross stand for? Our own God loving us so much, he died. He went through the pain and torture and suffering to prove to us how much he is willing to prove to us, how much he loves us and how much he loves, wanting us to know love, wanting us to know hope and peace and his return and eternity with him. That is the symbol of the cross for us. So steal away. And whenever they say, oh, you took it from pagans, say, yes, I hope we did. Don't be ashamed of the cross or of God. Everything even the pagan ridiculousness can be used for God. Same with that movie Damsel. Use it as to teach your kids about pagans. Perfect, wonderful, entertaining example of teaching your kids about pagans. It's right there on Netflix. Watch it with your kids and tell them what's wrong with them, and then what's wrong with her killing all of them. Where's the forgiveness and the sacrifice? And the father sacrificing his own daughter. What led him to do that is paganism. He thought he could do it and get away with this. He's a Christian. You're like, well, I can't. What the hell? We got to stop this. If he was a Christian king, he would have stopped that kingdom. He would have exposed it, rebuked them, right? Not even, stop this. We will fight the dragon. We're all going to die. I'd rather die facing Jesus than sacrificing our own daughters. And by the way, this theme is actually in my books, Alfred. I should promote my books at the very end of this video here. In my Alfred verse series, these sort of themes are in there quite a bit. So if you want to check that out, that's heavy in it. And my Alfred books, I reread them now so many times, and my sister does too. They're the best. You guys got to read them. I'm telling you, I really enjoy them. But family, children, fathers, and honoring the father and mother, very important in my Alfred books. And they're very adult kind of reads. They're not even, they're fun for kids, but adults can read them too, because they have so many levels. And most of the characters are adults, along with Alfred and the kids, but there's a lot of adult themes, storylines in there, for my Alfred series. So check it out on my website. It's not just for kids. I think I love the covers that I do, and that I pay the artist to do, this woman. But I also kind of think, oh man, I should make an adult cover for them, because they're kind of a like a kid adult cover, like the more of a. It looks too kiddie-ish, and that's what I wanted from it originally, but I should kind of make it more adult looking. But whatever. Anyway, so this is my take on the Damsel film and how we need to not be ashamed of our take on things. And I think it's a good teachable moment. I think the film is pretty good, like actually in a sense, it's not Christian. I mean, and the stepmom does say, "Oh dear God" in it. So, so she refers to God. I don't know where this God is, or who it is, because there's no religion in it. So I do like they're a little careful there. They don't like make that kingdom, Christian for, or anything like that. I didn't see any iconography in that sense. But whatever. It's a little, I feel like it could be deceptive in its goal, but I think it kind of covered, things so that it's not necessarily that. But again, you and I can still use it as a teachable tool, or very teachable moment for, both sides of it are like just pagan. So, ask your kids what's wrong. They're like, what would have actually happened if there was a Christian involved, and would all those princesses that were abandoned in those tunnels, would that have happened in our Christian realm? No, absolutely not. We would not have abandoned our daughters, and that's what the pro-life movement is today. We're trying not to abandon our daughters to this horrible sacrifice, which is going on today. Okay. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and you can support my efforts here as a ministry and make it one of your own, make it your ministry. Take it and make it your own, I'm trying to keep it cheap, $5 for each game kind of thing, PDFs. Just fun, lots of stuff in it, but very little investment on your part. And then you can create as much adventure-y stuff as you want in it. I'm trying to make it so that you can create as much out of it as you want, unlimited, and do a ministry, do a show, whatever you want to do with it. Okay. So, just give me credit if you become a millionaire on it, whatever. So in the game of life, it's a ministry. In the game of life, roll holy dice.